I am looking at a number of commutations. In fact, I've been spending several days on that topic. So we'll have a number of announcements in that area.
You've really had many more commutations than
Yeah.
many governors in recent decades.
Right.
So how do you approach clemency? What is your
One of the problems is that
process?
the number of people, for example, who are serving long life sentences, long sentences and life sentences, has just skyrocketed. You know, there were, I think, 20 years ago, there were a very small number of people in prison for life without parole and for sentences that would exceed their lifetime. Now we have 35,000 in that category. So, and the number coming in keeps growing. So that's why our life for population, and pretty soon it'll be a gerontology ward. So I think people have to understand that these bills that are enacted or these initiatives that are passed are not viewed in the overall, in the perspective of the criminal justice system, the realities of incarceration. And so, you know, we've gone from 12 prisons when I was governor to 35, from 25,000 people in prison to 173,000. Now that's gone downward, 128 right now. But you got to manage this. And one of the ways you do that is not only that, for the size of it, but having people locked up with zero hope feeds the gangs. That's the best way to build prison gangs, is to have tens of thousands of people locked up with no chance of ever getting out. Because when there's the possibility of parole, people have to conform to the rules. They have to avail themselves of the programs and have to turn their lives around. So that's the most powerful anti-gang measure that the prison system can have. And I say that not just because I'm thinking that, but I met with the parole board yesterday for an hour and a half, and they certainly are of that view that the prisons are changing because of the hope that the recent laws and commutations and paroles give them. There used to be zero parole, and now that's a realistic possibility for thousands of prisoners. So that's very helpful, among other things.
So how do you decide about clemency, though? So length of tenure in prison,
well,
how old they are?
Clemency, well, first of all, we have paroles.
Right.
And under previous governors, they virtually stopped the parole system.
Right. I do know that. But I'm wondering about clemency.
Commutation. Well, I'm looking at people that have very long sentences or life without parole, and we discover that many of them avail themselves of programs. They avoid bad behavior. They follow the rules. Or if they did have bad behavior, they change. And so therefore we look at that. And when I give commutations, most of the time we don't release them, but send them over to the parole board. And then the parole board can assess them for dangerousness. That's what they do. So it's getting back in a small way to the system that prevailed in California for over 60 years. And that is that virtually all sentences were subject to a reasonable time period. And it was called the indeterminate sentence.